Good evening. This is my G to Bay, your financial conductor, and I am joined by my esteemed colleague, I guess. I don't know what you call him. My brother. My
Dang.
brother, business associate, Coach Bakar Obey of H2G, Habit to Greatness. What's going on, Bakar?
I don't know what's going on, but there are like 50 state troopers
Say
lined
what?
up. Like, I don't know if y'all can see it, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like 20
No, we
cars out here.
20
There,
troopers.
20, there's tons of them. I don't know what's happening. It's like there's a whole convention happening right now. I'm sorry, I'm on the road right now, y'all. And I have never seen so many cops in my life. I mean, they are bumper to bumper for a good looks like a quarter mile.
Wow.
I don't know what's happening.
That's
So,
crazy.
well, we're out of it now. So,
Oh, you are?
yeah, I'm not talking about it no more.
Oh, all right. I
But no,
was like,
literally,
oh,
I
give
mean,
us
it had
the
to be
update.
like
Like, where you at? What's
25
going
cars.
on? Huh?
It had to be like 25 cars. For
Cop
what?
car?
None of them have lights on. They just out here.
Really?
It
That
wasn't
is
even
odd.
like it was a checkpoint. Or
Just a
maybe
bunch
it
of
was
cop.
a checkpoint. I don't know. Maybe we'll hear about it on the news tonight. They'll look for somebody.
Yeah, I don't watch
Anyway,
the news, so I won't hear about it. But I'm gonna have to look it up. But aside
hey,
from having been in traffic and observing 25 police cars between Creighton Road and 9 Mile on Laburnum Avenue,
hey,
what
don't
else
be
is
telling
going on
everybody
with
where I'm at.
you? Said what?
Don't be telling everybody where I'm at.
Why?
Anyway.
Anyway, this is the Seer podcast where we support, encourage, hold each other accountable, and recognize solo entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs, as Bakar likes to call them, right? Entrepreneurs, anybody who's working to grow in business, looking to get some insight, wants to know our story, our journey, our way. That's the name of our podcast or our show, whatever you want to call it, right? We're not real formal here. But what's been going on with you, Bakar? What's been happening?
Yeah, there have been some tectonic shifts in my program, right?
Oh
We got a
yeah?
big announcement. Yep. Oh shoot. Speaking of, I might have to hop off real quick to let them into the room tonight.
Oh,
Hopefully,
all
I
right.
get home. They'll be wondering. I get there in time. I get there in time. But yeah, and just making some shift to be able to free myself up some more time. Um, business is booming. I ain't gonna say booming, but it's growing. And with that, I'm growing. It's been a good week. So as far as just getting some clarity and focus on what I want the rest of the year to look like. And
All
so
right.
I am working with intention every day in order to create that lifestyle, right? And really obsessing over it right now and finding help, reaching out and getting the help and support I need. Um, got some speaking engagements going on. So tomorrow morning, actually, I'll be guest speaking and on a panel for the Mocha Money Meetup, talking with millennials about money and their
Nice.
attitudes and habits toward money. So that's
Good
10
stuff.
a.m. 10 a.m. Eastern. Looking forward to that conversation. And yeah, that's going to kick off the week. That's how we start in June. We got another invitation to do a podcast with one of my mentors, the LinkedIn locksmith.
Okay.
YB, shout out to YB. So looking forward to getting over there. And then I got to figure out what's the craze, what's the rave about Clubhouse, because I'm hearing that's the place to be right now. So
Yeah, yeah.
gonna figure out a way to get over there this month
Well,
as well.
it's yeah, it's on Android now apparently. So
Well, I got my invitation. I just haven't shown up over there to see what's happening. What's all the fuss
Uh,
about, and figure
I
out
think
who needs to
you'll,
be here. Huh?
no, I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll definitely enjoy it. I'm on there, but I'm not on there, right? Like I got an account, but I don't pop in. It's like another, yeah, something else to like manage, and I ain't there yet. So, but yeah, I've actually gotten referrals from there from someone else, another business associate of mine. So
That's what's
shout out
up.
to, yeah, shout out to him for making connections and referring them to me. Because I honestly can't like, I honestly haven't made the time to like invest in developing, making those new connections. So I'm,
My bad. My signal might be doing some funny things in a second as I'm transitioning onto the Wi-Fi, but I'm
oh, you
still
good?
here.
Oh, good.
Well, that's what's up.
Well, yeah. Clarity is so huge. I actually had a conversation earlier this week about that with a mentor of mine, John Epting. We talked about clarity
Mhm.
and um, definitely a conversation that I think I needed, but hopefully it was helpful for those that, were listening or will listen in the future. So it's good to hear you talk about that, how clarity is, what you're focusing in on. I think that's key ingredient. We talked a lot about vision, having a vision for your life.
Oh
And,
yeah,
it's easier to move when you know where it is that you're going. It's easier to say no when you know what you say yes to. So I'm definitely still in that process and learning a lot more about myself. Uh, I do want to celebrate that I was able to get this done. I don't know if y'all can read it. That oh no, I don't know. But anyway, I took a trip to San Diego. Took my girls. My mother also came along, and while I was out there, I was able to meet with uh, my estate planning attorney, Miss Yvette Kuyate of Kuyate Law Group, and finalize my estate plan with will, trust, healthcare directive, all that good stuff. So excited about kind of checking that milestone off the list. Definitely monumental. I don't think I celebrated or acknowledge it that as acknowledge it being as big of a deal as it is. I just kind of
yeah,
like it's something I wanted to do, and I made the steps to get it done. But I'm definitely happy that we were able to take care of that. So it definitely gives me a little more peace of mind as I'm building my future. One of the things that I talk to my clients all the time about is protecting what you're building, and this is part of the protection plan. The estate preservation. So really excited about having that in place, and one less thing on the to do list. But yeah,
yeah.
that's
That's
about all
huge.
that's been going on. With me, still taking care
Your
of a
little
few
trust fund
clients.
baby.
Huh? Say what?
So you get to be the first in our immediate family to have some trust fund babies.
Oh yeah. Well, we definitely want to build up more wealth to leave in the trust, but they have enough to get started. We'll say that. So
Amen. Oh,
pretty.
I got a win for you.
What's that?
You guys hearing it? Well, first, but I'm restarting my lock journey
Oh yeah.
as of June. What's it? Third,
Yesterday.
second? Was it yesterday? Today,
Yesterday was the third.
right? And we're gonna talk about those necessary challenges or conflicts, like me even cutting my hair, right?
Mm,
We're gonna talk
I-
about some of those things tonight on the
for
Seer
sure.
show, on the Seer
So yeah,
Mastermind show.
so that was definitely the topic: more money, more problems, and I retitled it "The Cycle of Innovation." All right. So we said necessary conflicts.
I like it.
However, yeah, it's a cycle of innovation, and considering how what's going on, bro.
I ain't woke yet. I'm sorry.
Uh, I figured you were resting. I know you told us earlier this week you've been worn out, driving the truck and all of that. So let's know what's going on with you.
All is well. All is good. Bakar, I like the hair, bro.
Hey,
You disappeared as soon as I saw it.
I'll be back.
Yeah, I like the hair. Yeah, yeah. You see, y'all all prettied up and dolled up. You got on earrings and all kind of stuff. What's going on here tonight?
Yo, I am super casual. So shout out to I was in Cali, San Diego, and it's chilly there at night. But of course, when you're on the East Coast, you don't think about that. You thinking I'm going where it's warm. So it's like nice during the day, but in the shade it's cool, and at night it's chilling. So
In San
while I was
Diego.
in San Diego,
I
right?
never heard
Southern
nobody
California.
say that before.
Oh no, absolutely. This is my second time going, and the first time it was the same deal. I went in the winter last time. It was in like December. This time I went in the spring, thinking like it'll be a little warmer. Are we in the summer yet? No, not yet. We're still in the spring. So I'm thinking it'll be, I'm good. So the only like jacket I brought was like a jumpsuit jacket that I wore on the plane over there. So yeah, I was just winging it out there. But I went out one night with Yvette. Dang, I lost her last name. But I went out with Yvette, and she brought a sweater. She had a sweater in the car, and let me borrow that. So shout out to her for looking out. She let me keep it because I forgot to return it.
Yo,
So yeah,
can
I'm
you let me
rocking
in
this.
from the?
You in, bro?
I want to get in from the computer though.
You gotta
Oh, this is the wrong
join
day.
from the computer. Yeah. But anywho, yeah. So, but yeah, I've just had the earrings on all day, and I put the sweatshirt on this evening just at home.
That doesn't look like a sweatshirt from my perspective. That's all.
Yeah.
I got you. That's a I ain't got on no pants under this sweatshirt. That's what that look like to
I
me.
got on pants. I got on pants, I promise. Pants.
Man. Well, I apologize about being late. I was set up.
You were set up.
I was set up, yeah.
What happened? Oh, you got the itis?
Well, I mean, I don't know what happened. I set my alarm for 8:10, and here I am at 9:14. I don't know what happened.
It's all good. How's your week been, bro?
It's been busy. I've been just working. That's all, really. That's all I've been feeling like doing. That's all I've been having. That's all I've been having room on my plate for, to work and come home and spend a little bit of time with the family and doze off and do it all over again. I worked from sun up to sundown yesterday, man.
Oh, wow.
Literally. But it's cool though. It's cool. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. You know what I mean? I know when I first started driving a truck, basically, that there was maybe a 3-month period where the people was like, okay, this is how much you get paid, and go ahead and get what you want. Go ahead and get how much you want. But it didn't last very long. So I can recall myself saying like last year, like, man, I ain't never really had a chance in trucking yet, where somebody just say, look, bro, this is how, this is the freight. This is how much you get paid. Now go get as much as you want. Or how many can I do? As many as you want. And so that's kind of how it is right now. It's just like you can go and do as much as you want. You know what I mean? So I'm taking advantage of that.
Hours.
Say it again.
As long as you maintain your VDOT hours, don't exceed your VDOT hours.
I don't deal with VDOT hours.
No?
Keep that on the low. I'm local. I don't deal with I'm local. I don't deal with VDOT. I ain't gonna say I don't deal with it, but local, we don't have to log our hours. Like people that go out and stay out all night, they gotta log their hours. I don't have to log my hours because I'm local.
So what's considered local?
Basically, like not going over 150 miles away from your home base, basically, because there's an air mile radius restriction, basically. So if you don't go over 150 air miles away from your home base, you don't have to run logbooks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So We're not
That's new.
supposed to. We're not supposed to do it, but a lot of the guys that run local, man, they just sleep in the truck. Some of them that don't have a family, you know what I mean? They ain't trying to go home. They drive as many hours as they can, go as many places as they can, and then when they get done, they just go sit at the place that they go into tomorrow morning and go to sleep in the truck. You know what I mean? And just keep it moving. They don't come out the truck. They ain't worried about no hours, man. In the local scene.
Well, no, that's interesting because working in construction, that's one of the things that we come up against often is that the CDL drivers for concrete suppliers, they can only work like so many hours. They can only in a day, right? I think they are limited to like 10 or 12 hours
Yeah,
in
I
a
think
day.
11. Yeah.
Yeah, but and they have to like have a certain amount of time off before they start their next shift because sometimes we're pouring early in the morning. So that's interesting that it doesn't apply to local drivers.
You know, like you're supposed to keep some sort of a log in the truck, but they don't never stress that. As a local driver, whenever I get stopped by the police, I've never been asked for my logbook. I've never been asked for a logbook.
The police or the VDOT?
The VDOT, DOT. I told you a couple of weeks ago. I just passed my first level 1 DOT inspection. I never get asked for my my logbooks.
So my concrete suppliers are pulling my leg.
No, they're not pulling your leg. They're not pulling your leg. It's just that I'm an owner operator, and we outlaws. You know what I mean?
Maybe it's different for corporations.
Yeah,
they gotta monitor.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, 100%. Yep.
All right. Well, okay.
I'm not bound by that restriction.
Good to know. Good to know. Well, I'm gonna turn it over to our MC, Coach Bakar Obey, the life fulfillment engineer.
Yes, sir. And you know what? Oh man. So let me tell you a quick story before we get into today's conversation.
100%.
So I just had a chance to hang out, meet some new people today or this week, and had a conversation just about like what I do. People ask me what I do. I'm like, man, that's a question I'm gonna have to get used to answering, right? Like, what do I do? You know, jumped on a couple of social websites where you connect and network and do things like that. And so I had a chance to just like hear. And by the time I got to the end of saying what it is I do, right? Because it kind of came up that, well, somebody just told me that if I did my life on a schedule, I'd be able to get it all done. And I was just like, yeah, I help with that, but you don't need me for a schedule. You can come up, anybody can give you a schedule, right? Here's what I do for you. I help you keep that schedule. I help you execute it with intention. I help you maintain clarity and accountability in seeing it through to the end, right? And by the end of what I shared, she said, so you're like an intention coach. And I remember having a conversation with you, Majida. We talked about a life acronym coach, like lifestyle, intention, fulfillment, engineer. And it was so funny to hear that today. Like, wow, yeah, that intention piece is really a part. Because I'm still really learning, right? I'm in a space where I'm really, really learning what it is that I offer, what it is I deliver, what it is that people, when they work with me, what they get that's different than what they can get anywhere else, right? And so I've been getting some great feedback on that. And I think that's part of what we're going to talk about today as far as this innovation cycle, right? Is recognizing the need within the larger global system that's operating and how to solve tomorrow's problems from the point of view of the problems that we're creating today, right? That was part of what I wanted to discuss with y'all. And I know sometimes I say it in a more confusing way, so you guys will definitely simplify it. But when I was thinking about today's conversation, it's like, and it's not just money, but like more access, more information, more technology, more opportunity, more comparisons, more successes, more failures, more distance in the wealth gap, right? All of these different things that are occurring are creating new problems for us to solve tomorrow. And like there are people who are really grinding and working and winning and able to capitalize on those opportunities to solve problems today, but at the same time they're creating more problems for tomorrow. Right? For example, your children are going to grow up not only with the internet, but like with a tablet and a phone in their hand, with an expectation to be able to get instantaneous access to information and solutions. But the problem that's being created is they're not seeing the work. So if you want to be wealthy in this next generation, is to figure out how to teach to this new generation the power and value of that work. I'm just saying. There's an opportunity. You ready to innovate? Get in front of that. If that's not already happening, and maybe it's already going on, right? Maybe people are already jumping ahead of that. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on, man, what are some of the problems that we're creating today that innovative, creative individuals will be working toward to solve tomorrow? What do you see as some problems that we're creating today for ourselves as a society, or even in your own household? You want to start locally?
Well, I think to piggyback on what you just brought up, the idea of instantaneous access to information and answers to questions, right? It doesn't foster the need to seek information, right? But at the same time, the children ask me, well, what's this? I'm like, look it up, right? But they'll look up as Google. They'll look up as Google, right? They'll Google it, and they know how to use the voice, so they ain't even got to type it in.
Oh man! Ask and you shall receive. Like it's written in the word.
Well, so I saw a meme or a quote a few days ago from Ayanna McMullen, and it said, it might have been something that she reposted, but it was saying something to the effect of, act like the universe is like Siri or
Alexa,
and just ask for what you want. And so perhaps that shift that we're making to that instantaneous is getting us more in line with our nature, or our ability to have that connection to the universe, to our creator, to get what we want, right? Ask and ye shall receive, seek and ye shall find, right? Like maybe that's where technology is also pulling us. But I think we still have to be taught the power in that, because it can also become a crutch where we don't think, we don't reason, we don't look at the different perspectives on that. And so my answer to like, what's the solution? I think it goes back to something that we learned, one of the first lessons that we learned growing up, which is know thyself. Like that, I feel, is the answer to all, right? Know thyself and that Father God, right? Like that kind of answers everything, because that becomes your guiding star, right? Your North Star, in terms of decisions you're making and all that. And I think when you don't know that, you can just drift, right? You can go from one thing to the next. You can kind of, everything looks shiny, or you take on things that aren't aligned with who you are because you just don't know yourself. So I think if we can teach people how to know themselves, and that be central to who like they become, right? Like I know myself. I'm not so much that you're not influenced by other people, but like you only are influenced by those whose message resonates with who you are, versus being influenced by any and everybody who has a powerful message or something to say. I feel like that's the space that I'm in now, where like there's a lot of voices, right? Like there's a lot of noise, and you got to learn to like quiet the noise, hear your own voice, because that should be the most important voice that speaks to you, outside of that of the creator. But you can't hear his voice without knowing your own. So that's my answer, my solution.
Hey, I love it. Hey, I'm gonna interrupt the show for just a moment. Just to let folks know. Hey, let me share my screen real quick.
I thought you was about to hit them with a word from our sponsor.
Hey, sponsored by Habit to Greatness accountability platform and Habit Lifestyle Mastery. Yeah, I'll sponsor us.
Yo, you can't just say you gonna sponsor us, bro.
Nah,
it don't work like that.
I'm a work in progress, Mo. I'm a work in progress. But you know what? You guys can also join us. Look at this live. Make sure you subscribe to the Seer Mastermind.
I need a napkin.
Look at that. So we're live now. I'm going to make sure that I copy this link and I'm going to send this to a friend. How about that? Actually, I need to do it from my phone.
Nothing
but all right.
Promoting your own stuff.
Hey, man. If you don't do it, who will? All right. No, I love your response, my Jita. I love your response there.
All right. Oh, there he is.
I had to wipe my camera off. I'm sorry.
So for those that are tuning in, man, this is the Seer Mastermind show with my Jita Maurice and myself, right? So we're all M's that way. 3 parts, 3 heads of the Seer Mastermind group who's working with creative entrepreneurs to support, encourage, hold them accountable and recognize their achievements. And this is our show, our story, our journey, our way. You want to learn how we're doing it as a family, as individuals with very different backgrounds. Me, single guy, no wife, no children. I'm living life to the fullest, to the best of my abilities. But I would say at, one of the earliest stages in entrepreneurship. Majida and Maurice have both been in business longer than myself. Maurice, for almost 20 plus years in direct sales and entrepreneurship. Right on time. Majida herself has been in the financial industry, right, and also worked full time as a project engineer in the construction industry. So all of us coming from different backgrounds. Both of them are parents. Maurice is married, right? So we all got a little bit different things going on, but we come together in order to recognize that there are individuals out there who are working toward their life goals, working toward their lifetime achievements, and are different stages. But oftentimes you don't see the work. You don't see what it looks like week to week, day to day, right? And we're only showing up here every 2 weeks. So you're still not getting the full picture. But what we're doing our best to show is the progress, the progression from where we are as entrepreneurs, where we are in establishing. And Maurice, you missed this. Majida came on and she shared a huge milestone in completing, the first of many family trusts, right? That might, hey, play some music for it. Hey, and that's big, right? Like people have reveal parties for babies. They have engagement parties and all kinds of life achievements. And I feel like we need to have us a trust party as we establish it for the next generation, a clear plan. And y'all gonna hear me. I'm about a clear plan, right? To execute a life that's going to be fulfilling, that's going to be empowering, that's going to prepare and set them ahead from where we were when we were their age, right? So, but that comes with some challenges, right? Like I know that the idea of even having trust fund babies, right, who don't have to work, they don't have to work. They were spoon fed, Majida. Your babies are going to have a stigma. No, nope, I'm not speaking it. But just we're talking about necessary problems or conflicts, right? We're talking about the innovation cycle and how new innovations, new solutions inevitably create new problems. And so, how do we deal with that, Maurice? I want to hear from you. What are some new problems that are being created, maybe in your household or in your environment? right? You got some new problems as a new trucker, right?
That's a
operator.
That's a I can't answer that question, bro. And the reason I can't answer that question is because as you already mentioned, expansion brings about new problems, new circumstances, new situations. And so, obviously I've got some, I've got a lot of those because I've had a lot of changes happen in my life and in my business over the last 5 years, from everything to, family circumstances changing, the son passing away is a new situation. Being married to your sister, Yasmin, is a new situation. Blending our families is a new situation for me. That's all personal stuff. It's not to mention the things that have changed in the last and recently in business. So, there's a lot of things that you could say that's happening that are going to create other situations that I'm gonna have to deal with in the future. You know what I mean? Because everything has that's like I like that word that you use, the innovation cycle. That's kind of how it is, right? The ebbs and flows of things. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. So I think that going back to the example that you were talking about as far as the children, and the internet, right? And how having access to the internet basically makes it so that the users don't have to work as hard. That's essentially what it sounded like you were saying you were going to. I don't know.
Work differently.
Work differently because I don't really know. I don't know if I could say that the fact, and just in that example that you gave, I don't know if I could say that the internet, like it's possible that the internet changed what the work is. So as the work used to be to actually break out the encyclopedia and do all of that stuff, that's just not required anymore. In the days of the horse and buggy, the work was going outside to feed your horse before you go on a long journey. But come along with cars, it's like that's not necessary anymore. But I would assume that there were people that were saying, yo, listen, man, this is the work. You got to feed the horse before we get on the road, and y'all hopping on the road with these cars, you're going to have to deal with that. That's going to come back and bite you in the butt, but not really. It kind of don't work like that. You know what I mean? I will admit that cars bring about their own set of problems, but I don't know if you can necessarily foresee those problems when you sitting on a horse. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you can foresee those problems or not. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Just speaking specifically on that example that you were saying, about the internet. It's like maybe the internet changed what the process is. You know what I mean? Not in a way that, like I said, not in a way that we don't have to. Maybe the work is not what it used to be. Just pure and simple. You know what I mean? Maybe the work used to be going somewhere, visiting somewhere. The work nowadays, the internet may have changed that, especially with the way the trending behaviors have changed the way people interact over the last year. So it's a lot more acceptable now to conduct things and do business right online. You know what I mean? So while you could say that the individual that only knows how to connect online is missing the process of connecting in person, and so obviously he's gonna have to pay for that. I don't know what the shift in the way the public perception is now towards the internet. That might not be a true statement that he's missing out on things just by having the ability to meet people online. You know what I mean? I don't know if I can foresee it that far in the future. So I don't know. I'll kind of back off for a second. That's kind of just what I was thinking though, as you were asking the question and as Majida was talking and as you was kind of going through the different scenarios.
I love that. And one of the things that I heard, and I want to make sure the audience heard that, was Maurice, you started from a platform of seeing the world shifting as an expansion, right? That is constantly expanding around you. You expanding your family, you expanding your business, you expanding your network, right? It's going to create some new challenges. well, I had opportunity today to actually like meet a whole person. And the way that I'm living, no, let me lay it out though.
A whole person? Like, are there half people?
Like a whole person, right? Not like somebody on the other side of a screen, but like a whole human. And like, there's certain interactions you can't have behind. I can't touch you guys. I can't. There's some things that are missing. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree.
So I had a chance to meet a whole person, right? And I treated that experience as if it was the most important thing in the world at the moment. Like one human being and another human being on like different trajectories, right? Came together and created a moment that only those two individuals coming together could create. And those two individuals could never be the same after that, right? I mean, they could be the same people, but they've had an experience now that shifts and changes who they are. And again, I don't want to run away too far with that. But man, I really appreciated being around people differently, right? After spending so much time in quarantine. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy my time in quarantine. I am an ambivert. I am an extroverted introvert, right? I might look like it's all great when you on the other side of a screen. It's wonderful. We all get together, la-di-da, but like, don't come in my space. unless I ask, right? Unless it's invited. But no, I'm friendly actually. I'm
the same way.
Stranger.
I'm the same way. I'm so good in my truck, bro. I'm so good.
She said an introverted introvert.
That's crazy though, because we all got an introverted side, even though you might would look at us online and say that don't seem like introvert.
Right.
I love being by myself, man, for real.
I mean,
we see we're by ourselves together.
Yeah. Yo, that was a quarantine. That was a quarantine saying. Alone, hashtag alone together.
Alone.
Yeah, together
alone together.
Yeah, one of the two.
Together at home or something.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. I can enjoy. So like, I really, really appreciated like creating a whole moment and experience with a person in person. And I know from like this day forward, I want to have like a lot more intentional moments like that. I want to create a lot more intentional moments like that. At the same time, I do want to maintain that sense of like having this space alone together. Like we're all experiencing life individually, right? And if this pandemic didn't create that sense, I don't know. I guess what I'm thinking of, like, it's an opportunity for us to like really break down the mob mentality, even though there's still a bit of that, but to really like break down that mob mentality and begin to see and really deal with people as, you know, very unique individuals and beings. I mean, and there are people maybe out there who've been doing that, who've been that mindful. But I guess, you know, part of my experience is just like there was just always this going and bustling.
I feel like people did have to get to know themselves more. Right? Maybe they didn't
during this time. Yes.
Yeah, like they almost were forced to. Like you couldn't go out regularly to cope with whatever you didn't want to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Like you didn't have those same. Yeah, maybe you can pick up the phone and talk to a friend or whatever. But for some people, like going out and doing things and engaging with other people was their way to not deal with themselves, to not face their reality. And so it gave them that opportunity. Now, whether they took advantage of that or not, or recognize that is...
I remember me say, check on your extroverted friends.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, all the introverts were we're in the hyperbolic time chamber, leveling up like Dragon Ball Z, preparing for the Cell games. Yes, I went all the way in on that reference. It was for the Cell games. It was for the Cell, not no Dragon Ball Super. It was for the Cell games. Okay. Anyway, no.
I don't know nothing about none of these terms.
What?
Yeah.
That shouldn't even come as a surprise to you no more, man. Every time I say I don't know nothing about nothing, what? Huh? Man, listen, you know I ain't into none of that stuff.
Wow.
So I'm showing my age. I know.
A little bit.
I know.
A lot of it.
I don't care.
That's all right. That's all right. For all my DBZ lovers, y'all know what's up. All right. Hashtag
I don't know what he's talking about.
Hyperbolic time chamber. Y'all know what it is.
It's like I'm going to the doc. It's like I'm going to the doctor. What is he talking about, Doc?
So I want to keep some cohesion and some flow into the conversation. So
DBZ is Dragon Ball Z, I'm guessing.
That's Dragon Ball Z, yes. Right, okay. You're a quick learner. You catch on quick, right?
I Googled it. I'm sitting here on my phone Googling it right now.
There was 7 Dragon Balls.
I'm joking.
To make a wish. I'm not gonna give you the story. Got a lot in common with the main character. I'm just saying. But Majidi, you really brought out a cool point, is that a lot of people really had time and had to face themselves in some capacity or another, right? I remember watching the show Married at First Sight, and I want to say it was like the 11th season or the 9th season. They were faced with the beginning of the quarantine, and it was like they had an extended time to be together. You know, it was like an extra 8 weeks or something like that they were quarantined together, and it was like, man, this whole idea was cool from the beginning, but this extra quarantine thing just added a whole nother layer and dimension where they really had to face themselves like that. And so I wonder, right? So now in this space where more people, presumably, right? More people are growing in their self-awareness. More people are recognizing, man, a lot of the systems that were set up for us in the past are, man, they've got some really, really big holes, right? I'm seeing signs where there are businesses shutting down because people who were labeled essential, but were some of the lowest paid and lowest, given some of the lower socioeconomic status, right, in this country, are like walking off the job like, yo, I don't need this anymore. Like, you label me, I'm essential. So if I leave, like, people are retiring earlier, and it's taking, 4 and 20 people to replace them. I read that in an article today, right? In the healthcare industry, in so many different industries. And it's like, so what are these people doing, right? How is this going to affect our culture moving forward, right? Is it the stimulus money and the extension to government benefits that's contributed to it? Is it the gig economy where people finally realize that, man, I can't depend on, something else? Or people being at home for an extended period of time, recognizing I kind of like this, right? So someone posted a message I saw recently that people they're having sex, they're sleeping, they're doing side jobs, all on company time now, right? And they're probably happier. I didn't read the article yet, but people doing a whole lot of stuff now at home that they wouldn't have been able to get away with on the job. But how is that changing, like, the dynamics of the workplace? How is that changing the economy? How is that changing, man, our interactions day to day? What do you think? What do you think's happening?
Well, I mean, just like,
and who's most affected by it? Maybe we'll take it in that direction.
If we think back, I was actually watching the History Channel while we were on vacation in San Diego, and they were talking about the titans that built America, right? So the Fords, the Boeing, I think
Rockefeller,
DuPont. So those were the ones that I was watching at that particular time, and how our society went from mainly a self-employed trade, kind of specialist society to an industrial society where you had big corporations hiring hundreds and thousands of people and becoming like extremely wealthy. And so that model has been in existence, since the early 1900s, probably late 1800s, early 1900s. And so now we are starting to see a shift back to entrepreneurship, self-employed, um, and people have more options because of the access to information, because there are opportunities that people can create, that reliance on those big corporations, right? Like we were conditioned and programmed to think that we needed to go to school, get good grades so we can get a good job, right? And people have recognized that that model has failed a lot of people. And so our current economy and society has shown us models, right, that can transition people out of that, and they can create and control their own destiny. And so we may see a shift back to, and it's in existence even today, right? Independent contracting. A lot of forward-thinking companies like Google and stuff like that, like they've offered models. I think even Capital One, they have flex schedule where you can kind of work the hours that you want to work, or people work as independent contractors, so they're not employees of the company, but they just answer to, someone. So it's definitely going to create a lot more, not just flexibility, but diversity. And I don't mean diversity in the sense of like different types of people from different backgrounds, but diversity in how we work, right? Independent contracting may become more prevalent because there are people who are skilled in what they do. They just don't want to have to do it on someone else's time. They can do exactly what they're doing on their job, but they can be independent. They can be a consultant. They can be a contractor, and they can control their time. And that's more appealing than clocking in, right? Because essentially that's what they had to do over this past year. They were independent, right? Working from home. They still had to, but like they don't have somebody overseeing everything that they're doing, so they can manage their time differently to work better for them. And I think people got exposed to that and was like, I could do this on the regular, right? Like it didn't really make sense to have to go back into an office. Some people prefer it because they need to be in a work environment, if you will. But I think more
co-working is big right now. Co-working spaces.
Right. But even, I mean, you couldn't go nowhere. So even co-working spaces probably were like limited. So working from home was the only option for a lot of people. And so it offered that perspective. Like, how can I make this work? What would this look like? Right. I've been on webinars where people have mentioned, or talked about how to make a work from home job or profession viable, make it feasible for you. So yeah, we'll definitely, I think, see a lot of transition. Maybe, I mean, it's not going to happen instantaneously, just because culturally, I think our mindset is still very traditional. But the younger generations that are coming up definitely have a different perspective on work-life balance, right? And they can dictate how they want to work more so than previous generations. As I drive around all the time now, and I see fast food restaurants hiring, right? Like they can't keep enough employees. People don't want to work them jobs no more, because they don't have to. So everybody's short staffed, and I think now minimum wage has increased, so they can make more money. And I heard something on the radio the other day where Biden was talking about how the stimulus money and unemployment over the past year basically he was saying that it didn't encourage people to stay home and not work, but that's essentially what it did, right? Like it didn't encourage people to like go get a job, and he was suggesting that employers would offer incentives for people to come back to work, and it's really an employees market, right? We talk about like, but real estate is a buyer and seller's market. It's really an employees market, right? Like you can kind of dictate your terms because they need you more than you need them at this point, because there's a high demand and a low supply. So I see it definitely in my industry. Like people want more money. The competition is willing to give it to them. So if you're not, they'll walk.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the beautiful, one of the beautiful things. I don't know what the ingredient is in our society that makes it operate in a dual nature like that. Mm-hmm. It's like society is not allowed to go too far in either direction. There's a correction that has to always come. And that correction comes from the market. It's not necessarily engineered by anyone. It's driven by the demand of the market. It's like, we want this, and then you get this, and then you get too much of this. But then a correction naturally comes and corrects. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know what you call that. I'm not sure what that is, but it seems that keeps. It seems that just keeps things from going too far off in the weeds either way. No side can run away with it too far. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
I would define it as a balance between freedom and order, right? That we have that innate ability to choose, right? And at the same time, we also have this desire for structure, stability, consistency, a solid foundation, right? And so in being able to have, like what the job market that previously offered, some sort of consistency, some sort of foundation, some sort of benefits, security, right? Being able to rely on that without having to deal with the chaos of near anarchy, which is what freedom looks like, right? That's what freedom looks like. Like it is dog eat dog. It is survival of the fittest. It is, if you choose to be free, you got to go hunt every day. That's what freedom looks like. Or you can, what's a good analogy for not hunting? I guess you could be domesticated. Right, you could be fed like a cow, maybe not, or a horse. We'll say a horse, right? They're not fed for slaughter. They're bred for work, right? Bred for work, right? Some maybe for slaughter. I don't know. Look at the prison systems, but fed or bred for work, right? So you can like live in a stable environment, have protection. You could be a sheep, and I know that's not a great analogy, but it's what some people crave, right? It's what some people want.
It is what it is, bro.
To have that nice, fenced in protective space where they're going to get a bale of hay and some water each day. And they're happy with that. They don't have to be running around in the woods wondering where their next meal come from. Right. And that's what creates the correction. It's just like when a horse gets out there in the wild and got to hunt for berries, right? or you got a stray cat, like that's why I like cats. Cats are like independent and domesticated. Like they have a nice balance. They be like, I don't really care what you do for me, but you're gonna feed me. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't need you, but bring the kibble. You know what I'm saying? I love that kind of energy. As opposed to dogs, like they'll wait for you. They're well trained. Some places they'll run away. It's like, man, this ain't it. I need to go hunt. This ain't it.
Yeah. This is a true dog. This is a true dog eat dog environment here.
Right. Like and people are experiencing that. Like,
They
you
got
know
limits
what?
too.
Yeah, they're experiencing like, oh no, this ain't it. This being chained to a tree thing is not the life. As soon as I come off this chain, I'm not coming back. Right. Where there are others, like I was out on the river the other day, and there was literally this dog that stopped and waited. And the lady said, "We're going that way." And the dog went that way. I said, "Whoa." Oh my good. Like, I'm not that kind of dog. I'm a big cat. You can't tell me what to do. You could never tell me what to do. Right? I am always going to exercise my free choice to the best of my ability. And if I feel like I'm hearing too much of what you think is for me, I'm going to carve out a new territory. Right? That's just my nature. All right. And I have to deal with the problems that come with being in that space. I think side note, for all of those who know One Piece, that is what the story is all about: freedom versus order and authority. Just shout out to all of my One Piece. Y'all understand it. It's okay. They know. They'll know. I'm gonna have to create my own channel just to talk about some of those. Some of these the anime world. Y'all don't understand none of that. And then
that's another anime. Oh my gosh.
I'm telling you, some of the greatest stories ever told. And also solving a lot of our problems quietly and secretly, expressing like those different psychological things that we deal with, and providing a simple way to deal with them in a fantastical space. It's actually pretty deep, man. If you ever got into it. Not everything's like that. Yeah, y'all have actual real families.
Yeah.
But your children will understand. And that's who I'm here for. to educate the children. So what else is on your hearts? What else is on your mind? What are some more problems that we're creating for ourselves in this state, in this space? What are some problems that you foresee tomorrow that maybe we don't have answers for quite yet today? Anything that stumps you?
I think we have the answers. We just have to, one, be reminded that we have the answers, or become aware that we have the answers. That goes back to what I said earlier. Like, it's knowing yourself, like your voice, because naturally we all deal with conflict, right? So we're talking about necessary conflict. We all internally deal with conflict. So if you're going through life, right, because I tell a story all the time when I'm, sharing what I do. I said, I went to school, got good grades, got a good job, came out, started working, got a house, got a car, went from college student broke to house and car broke. And so I was faced with a conflict, right? I have a degree, I'm earning more income, but I still don't have the money that I expected to have, right? Like, all I'm doing is going to work and paying bills. So at that juncture, I had to decide, was I going to find a solution, or was I going to accept my circumstances?
Oof.
And we've heard the analogy before. I've heard before, right? You can be the architect of your future or your destiny, or the victim of your circumstances or your past. And so I made a decision, right? And it says, when you're clear about your values, it becomes easy to make decisions. Well, how do you become clear about your values? You know who you are. You know what makes sense for you. And so I know it didn't make sense to have an engineering degree and to be broke. Like, the math didn't add up, right? So
I still ain't figured that one out. I got 2 engineering degrees. I did something wrong. We course corrected like a mug right now.
So it didn't add up. So I chose to seek out new information, because obviously the information that I had got up until that point, go to school, get good grades, get a good job, was not enough. It didn't suffice. It didn't fulfill me, right? And so that's awareness, right? So you have to actually be aware that, like, there's something wrong. And if you know yourself, you will see that, right? You will recognize that. You will be dissatisfied. And too often people live with the dissatisfaction. They settle. They live with the discomfort. They live with the acceptance. They live with that trauma, right? That they just stay there. They stay stuck because they don't know themselves and they don't seek out new information that can help them get out of that. And so that's something that I believe has to be taught. It's in you, right? But somebody has to bring it out of you. Somebody has to teach it to you so that you're aware of it. Like, all right, this ain't really what it's cracked up to be. I can do something different. But if you in a situation and you're like, it's not what it cracked up to be, but I don't know how to get out of it, and I don't know who to go to help me get out of it, you stay there. And that, I think, is right where solutions come from, right? If you're solution oriented, you seek the solution, you seek the answer to a problem that you're having, right? It don't have to be solving the world's problem, solve your own problems. And there's more than likely other people who have the same problem that you have that you can help solve as well, right? That's all I do in the business that I'm in, right? I help people solve that problem of figuring out their finances. Because I had that problem and I still deal with that problem, right? So I still have to seek out help to continue to solve that problem because it's different problems, right? Estate plan was a different level of that problem. How do I make all of this work, right? We spend our whole times working, right? Our lives working. We start families, we have children, we rear our children, we try to, give them or offer them, the best opportunities. And then we grow old, we pass away, and what's left behind? What's our legacy? And for some people, they don't really think about that. They're not thinking about like what happened when I leave this earth. But those same people may have the thought of, I want something left behind. So they have children to leave something behind, but they leave nothing to those children to give them instructions or direction as to where to take, right? I brought you into this world, and this is what I hope for you. This is what I want for you since you're here, right? Like they don't really, I don't think, take responsibility or ownership of choices that they've made. I said this earlier this week when I was talking with John, the idea that like, I didn't plan to be a single mom with 2 children at 36. Now, obviously I didn't not plan to be here, but I didn't plan to be here either. Right. And so I found myself in this situation. And so is this the ideal situation? Not exactly, but how do I respond to the situation that I'm in? I'm planning and preparing for the children that I'm now responsible for, right? I take what we call not just a servant, but I see my children, I see myself as stewards. Yes, thank you. As stewards of them, right? They were given to me, and because of decisions I made, I have them now. So what choices will I make to ensure that I don't perpetuate the same situation in the future, right? We see it oftentimes, especially when we're talking about being in poverty, for generations from generation to generation. It's the same cycle, right? Just like we have a cycle of innovation, we have a cycle of poverty. We have a cycle of generational debt where generations are doing the same thing because that's all they've been exposed to. That's all they know. They don't choose to do something different, right? I grew up in a 2-parent household. I said this to my mother earlier this week, that like they did a great job raising us, giving us the tools that we needed to be educated, graduate, have a strong work ethic, but they couldn't prevent me from becoming a single mom, right? So like certain things are out of their control, right? Because of decisions that I made. Now, is this the ideal situation for my daughters? No. However, all right, they need a male influence. So I ensure that they have access and relationships with their grandfathers, their uncles, right? Their fathers. I make sure I maintain a good relationship with their fathers so that door is always open for them to have those relationships. I'm not going to let me get in the way of them having a relationship with their father just because things didn't work out with us. And so it's constantly like course correcting and finding solutions.
Ladies, did you hear that?
Oh.
Not gonna stand in the way of their. I gotta have a good relationship with their father. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
they don't want to hear
that. Hey, I can't speak for nobody else.
You ain't never had to deal with one of those.
I'm being too easy, or I'm not being. You said what?
Said, Maurice, you ain't never had to deal with none of those men. You are those men. No.
But I'm saying,
shout
like,
out to all the good single fathers.
To that point, right? Like, I realized that because I was talking to my cousin a couple months ago, and a couple cousins of mine. I'm sorry, a couple weeks ago, and I shared with them the story of how I met my daughter's fathers and all of that, and like, full transparency, I didn't know them very long before I got pregnant with my daughters. Right, I'm just one of those people, and don't take this around, right? Like, I'm just all in from the jump, right? Like, you show me who you are, and I'm gonna believe you till you show me different, right? So I go in with the best
expectation.
I expect the best, right? And prepare for the worst, right? So
yes.
I can't say that.
That's what this show is all about. Sharing your story, your journey, your way of doing things. Majida, she's all in from the jump. Now that you know.
but I think the point that I'm really making is that there is no right decision. There is no wrong decision. There is making it right. There is course correcting. There is finding a solution to improve your situation. However, right? Like, there's been times where I'm like pulling my hair out. Like, I've been stressed right? Like, I needed to get away because I've been stressed, and I didn't realize how stressed I was until I got away and was able to look at the picture from a different frame. Be like, I think I shared this with us on our mastermind call. I gotta let some things go. I've been so accustomed to just adding stuff to my plate. And before children, it was easier to do because I could have all the time that I wanted. But now, because my children are something that I'm responsible to and for, I can't sacrifice my responsibility to them to serve or help other people, right? Like, it's not fair to them. And so that's me being mindful and course correcting. Like, you can't be who you've always been. You can't just invite anybody to come live with you and be around your children, because they may have, might be able to interact, but like, it affects them. It don't just affect you. So those are things that I'm learning, right? Like, I'm being myself, right? And my nature is to just serve and help, but recognizing that my decisions impact other people. So I have to make different decisions so that they're not adversely impacted at the same time. But also recognizing how it impacts me, right? In the past, I might not have acknowledged the stress, the anxiety, any of that. And now I'm more aware of it. So I do something different, right? You learn different, you do different. What is it? Well, you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went all the way to left field and back. But
hey, what I heard, and for those that don't know Majita's story, definitely check in with her. She's got a weekly show that she does, and she talks about all kinds of financial issues with her mentor, John, on Tuesday nights. But she's got a major story. And what I heard from you, Majida, is that, man, the problems that you created, I don't want to call them problems, but the problems that you created from the decisions that you made, they weren't right or wrong. Like,
just take ownership of it. Yeah. Take responsibility for it. Yeah.
You recognize,
and then you can do something different. If you blame, justify, and complain, like as John says all the time, when you blame, justify, and complain about your situation, you're stuck. You can't do anything about it. You can't move. Right? You're in analysis of paralysis of analysis. Right? You're pointing the finger. You're not getting anywhere. But the minute you take ownership, you stop placing blame, and you see how your decisions impacted where you are or what your circumstances are, then you can pivot, because then you can do something about it. And that's how I've tended to live my life, right? In terms of the innovation cycle, I figure out an answer to wherever I'm at. I don't waste time. I understand how I got here, right? Like, okay, I was doing this, or I wasn't thinking about that, and so understand how you got there, but don't stay stuck there. Don't stay mired in your mess. Recognize the mess and, like, all right, I need to get out of this mess. and then make a decision and act on it.
Like when you wake up in the middle of the night after having that dream that you were in the bathroom and you had to go to the bathroom. And in the dream, everybody's had this dream. This is the most relatable story on the planet. Because I know every single individual has had one of these dreams. Right? I'm Mr. Relatable. It's like when you have that dream, you can either lay there in the bed or you can realize, hold on, if I keep dreaming, I'm gonna be laying in my own stuff when I wake up. Maurice, you got no idea what I'm talking about.
You having those? That sounds like a dream that like an older person would be having. Somebody like 70 might be having that or something.
I drink a lot of water. All right,
those dreams already. That's what's up. Okay,
already.
Right. Yeah.
I think most children have had those.
Yeah, that's what I'm
either
about.
Children or old people. One of the two. Yeah.
This man thinking I'm talking about having these dreams now. I'm talking about children. Like all of us as children have had those dreams.
I don't remember that, but you're right though.
He said, "I don't remember." What planet are you from?
You're right.
I need to go talk to your mother. Figure out where she ordered you from.
You ain't gotta talk to my mother. I can let you know. I can let you know what it is. You might already know.
He's from Jupiter. Oh man. But yeah, no, that's a great point. You could either lay there. Not my point, Margita's point. I just reiterated her point. But you can lay there and let the mess happen to you, or you can get up and do something about it. All right, that's all I'm trying to say.
And nobody cares. Just to piggyback on that a little bit, like nobody cares. Not to sound too harsh, but it really is like nobody cares when you're having a hard time. And what I mean by that is like your lights will still get cut off. even if you're grieving. You know what I mean? Like you could have had a really, really traumatic situation come up, or a really abrupt change happen in your life, or something really like you might have a really legitimate reason to get stuck, but nobody cares. Nobody cares. The bills, you know what I mean? Like they still come. You know what I mean? Like the lights, they'll still cut your lights off. They'll still come and repo your car. You know what I'm saying? Your loved ones will still walk away from you. You can't stay there for too long. That's what I mean when I say nobody cares. People care, but it's like life continues. Life goes on, kind of like. So, I mean, I'm just kind of piggybacking on what you're saying. Like you could just stay there and deal with that and complain about it, or you can do something about it. And they are two different mindsets. They are two different mindsets because when you stuck, you seem like you can't think of a solution. But when you are at the point that Margita was talking about, where it's like, yo, look, this is the situation. I don't like it, and I'm focused on doing something about it. You don't have any time to complain, right? You don't have any time. So it's like one. They are very two different places to be in, 100%. So it's like. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I wanted to piggyback on what you mentioned about like nobody cares. I actually, when I came back from my uncle's memorial service the other week, I started listening to this book called "It's Okay That You're Not Okay," and it's told from the perspective of this psychologist or counselor, therapist, somebody who had worked in this industry for a number of years, had counseled people, and it wasn't until she herself had a traumatic situation where she witnessed her fiance drown, right? He was in good health, excellent swimmer, but she watched him drown. And she starts talking about in the book how culturally, right? So we're speaking from this American culture, right? This Western culture where like you just got to pick up, strap up your bootstraps, get back to work. Nobody cares that you're dealing right. Like we care, but like that doesn't change that life still goes on. Like that's just right. But you can go to other places where there's more compassion for grief, right? And people have the time and they're allowed to grieve. or deal with their trauma, right? They acknowledge it, right? We oftentimes in this society, we don't even acknowledge, like, trauma has become so normalized that, like, you just deal with it, especially within our culture, right? I was listening to radios on, I was, hearing
Don't
DL
get me
Hughley.
started on that.
DL Hughley was talking about
that was
how
400 years ago. It wasn't. Stop it.
well, he
Stop
was
it.
speaking about just how the perspective of, you had the war on drugs in the 80s, and today you have the opioid crisis, right? Where there's treatment centers and there's compassion because it happened to people in West Virginia, not on the south side of Chicago, right? Like, it's different perspectives
100%.
because of the society that we live in. There's compassion for these people who've been, but they also mention how our communities typically aren't addicted to pharmaceutical drugs because doctors won't prescribe them the drugs because of the same certain systemic things that are in place. So if you have pain, like, they're not going to just write you a prescription for whatever, whereas Johnny, they might write that prescription for because he's complaining about pain. So it's just it's seeing, right, there wasn't as much compassion for our people, and unfortunately our people have become normalized to trauma and racism and, right, like, all of these things, all of these norms, if you will. And is that our nature to not have compassion for people? I don't think that's the case, right? Like, I had somebody that I did not know live with me for the last 7-8 months. Because of compassion, right? But society says, like, that's crazy. Like, you need to draw a line in the sand. And I understand that we need to have, like, boundaries and stuff like that. But what if we thought more communally, where there was this coming together? And if your life's about to get cut off and we know that you're going through some stuff, we, like, help you out, but with the understanding that that's going to be reciprocated. It's a different mindset, right? It's a different culture, and it's got to be fostered and created. I'm not saying that that's where we are right now, but we could be. And I would like to think that, like, the compassion or the uh, love that you extend to others will be returned to you, right? Not from per se that person, but, like, that's the laws of the universe, right? There's cause and effect. What you put out comes back to you. Reap what you sow, but not just what you sow, but multiply what you sow, right? You reap a harvest. You don't reap a seed. You sow a seed and you reap a harvest. So I think if we align more with the laws of nature, we could find more compassion. We could find more empathy for our fellow man, to where it's not that dog eat dog. Because, a lot of what we've been talking about, this innovate, it's very individualistic, like what I can do on my own and what you can do on your own. But what if there was more of a thinking of coming together? What can we do together and what can we accomplish? So, just a different perspective.
I love it. Maurice, any reflection on that? Oh, you tired, man. We got to send him to bed.
No, I'm good, man. I'm fine. I'm good. I don't have any reflection on that, though.
Well, Majidi, you've been crushing it tonight with your conversation.
I just been letting me talk. So
I appreciate it. Because I'm fine, but my brain is, oh, man, it's something about being foggy. I hate it, man. I hate it.
One of the things that you do. Are you all right?
I'm good. I'm good.
He's, oh man, working hard over there. But I mean, that's one of the things that I think you're phenomenal at, Majida, is coming up with practical solutions and being solution oriented. Like, I don't even know how we had this conversation tonight, because everything that I brought out, you was like, "What? Know yourself and God. Like, why are you making problems that you don't need? Like, do these
there
things.
Are no problems.
There are no problems. Only solutions. Right. So if you get nothing else from this conversation, if you're feeling stuck, and confused about how to resolve or how to solve or how to get out of that feeling of being stuck or stagnant. If you don't know where to find those answers, and really no one around you seems to care, contact me. I care. I care.
Why did you just sound like a hotline?
Because I am a hotline. When y'all hear that hotline bling, right? That can only mean one thing. You're at a point where you need an intervention. You need somebody on your side, on your team, who's there to help guide you and keep you accountable for living unstuck, right? Like nobody gets to stuck and say that's what I was always looking for. Nobody's ever got to that point. So when you recognize that, right? Like this is a legit, right? Because I know that there are people out there who are struggling. I know that there are people out there genuinely, legitimately feeling like they have nowhere to turn. That their husbands, their wives, their parents, their children, their families, their friends, their coworkers, their bosses, they have no one to go to, right?
Take your phone.
And they may be killing it, crushing it, and feeling empty inside. Maybe crushing it and feeling overwhelmed. You may be kicking butt on the outside, but inside you're drowning. Like I know what that feels like. I know what that looks like. And man, I haven't kicked as much butt as I wish I could. Man, I like to kick butt on my Jesus level and on Maurice's level, right? But when it comes to the internal struggles, bruh, I got you. I got you. And when it comes to your financial challenges,
other than that, right? So what I recognized was that, currently, right? So I went to school, got a degree in engineering, started working in the construction industry over 15 years ago now. And during that time, right, about five and a half years in, I'm like, all right, I felt stuck, right? I felt like I wasn't growing, and I'm growth oriented. So like I went to the president and was just like, yo, I like to be challenged, blah, blah, blah. And his response to me was like, you're stuck, just find ways to assert yourself more. And so at that point, I was just like, maybe it's time for me to move on. 6 months later, I was offered an opportunity to be promoted. And that's how I got into my current position as a project manager, to where I was managing projects. So it was a different level or challenge. And so I've been in that role for probably 7-8 years. And now I'm at a place where I enjoyed the work. However, my life doesn't necessarily support me staying in that role. I have young children, right? They have their own schedule.
Are we still live?
Yeah.
Are your coworker? Are they watching this?
Maybe they will be. Whatever.
No, go ahead.
But just as me becoming aware that like my family demands more of my time, right? When I'm single and on my own, right? I can work dusk to dawn, put in all the hours, whatever. But my family is more of a priority than the job. And I want to perform with excellence, right? Whatever I'm doing. And so when I'm feeling like I'm not performing at that level, it's like I can make a decision and be mediocre and perform at a subpar level, or I can choose to adjust to where I can still perform with excellence and provide the quality of life that I want for my family, provide, the time. So I just want to encourage people, right, in this innovation cycle, in this conflict, right? Those conflicts come, and oftentimes they're internal conflicts, right? Like there's this quote that says, like, if you can conquer the enemy within, the enemy without, like, can't harm you. Something like that. That's not verbatim. And so oftentimes the conflict that we have is internal, right? Like internally, I'm feeling like I'm not able to perform at a certain level. I'm not able to give my children the time that they want. I'm not able to support certain initiatives that I want to support. And the outside conflict is, girl, you got a good job. You need to stay on that job. You need to, because it's paying the bills, but it's creating internal conflict for me. And it's not the job, but it's my priorities. It's my values that are more important. And so facing and dealing with that conflict and making the decision that like you may need to pivot, you may need to do something differently. Right. I'm actually going to reach out to a friend of mine who's part of the Breathe University community, who's been where I'm at. Right. She's been a mom with young children who transitioned into working for herself in the same industry, and find out what that journey was like. And so it's seeking, right? Seeking people who've gone a little further down the path than you have yourself, finding a mentor or finding a coach or somebody who can help guide you. And they don't have to be that much further ahead. They just got to be a step ahead, right? To help you navigate a little bit better. And so in this individualistic society that we live in, that's not necessarily encouraged or promoted, right? Like you gotta figure it out. You gotta like, no, find somebody that can help you navigate that, right? We have teachers in primary and secondary school. We go to college and we have professors, and then we graduate from college, right? And then we don't seek mentorship, or we don't look at or seek coaches. Anybody who's excelled in life, like they've had them, from the president to professional athletes to entertainers, right? Like they've all had mentors or coaches or somebody that's helped to guide them. And I think I think if we can acknowledge that we can't do it alone, right? You need people around you, but you also need people a little further ahead to help guide you. So anyway, I just wanted to share that before we hopped off. Yeah.
I love it. And for the one who's always ahead and always around you, make sure that you give gratitude and thanks and recognition and honor and praise. Whomever you believe, you ain't doing it on your own. Stop it. I mean, just stop it. Let the ego go. I'm speaking to you. You know who you are. Stop it. Now. All right, y'all. Hey.
You like you watching a movie, bro.
Hey, my life is a movie.
No, I'm talking about Maurice. He's sitting there eating a cookie like this
watching TV. I'm watching TV. Yep.
Oh man. Hey, listen, this has been the Seer Mastermind group. Our Seer Mastermind show, our story, our journey, our way. If you are an entrepreneur or emerging professional, if you're looking to make a transition in your life, if you're interested in trucking and want to know how to get into that industry, or the financial industry, or I'm not coaching coaches yet, but even the coaching industry, I can direct you, or really just want to create for you, want to start your life, right? Because some of y'all still haven't started. Like you've been living. Listen, oh man. So you know how I'm gonna lead on this thought. So I was thinking about early this week, like athletes who show up on the field and they get celebrated and they get paid all of this money, right? But few of them ever show up with a plan. Most of them show up to the field and they're executing someone else's plan. They're sitting in film study and other rooms and they're learning what somebody else's plan for them is. Now, granted, they may have their own individual plan on how they're going to execute that duty or that role. But as far as the overall game plan that they're showing up to execute, they're not calling the plays. And you know what? A lot of people out there living your life based on what we shared tonight on the Big Four's plan for America. And they didn't have you in mind. They had them, their families, their legacies in mind. When is it going to be time? And I'm not here to beat anybody up, because I was thinking about that too, Maurice, what you said. I learned that was a blind spot that I found out. Not that I had per se, but there's a whole generation of people who've been kicking butt and under-celebrated, been kicking butt and under-recognized, who may be, 85, 95% of what they want, and are just looking for a little help to get over the hump, and somebody's kicking them down because they haven't done the 10, or they haven't done the 5, or they haven't done that 15. And we're not here to be those people. That's what the E is encouragement. We're here to encourage you that wherever you are in your journey is where you are. And wherever you want to be is a few simple decisions, right? A little accountability, a little support, a little more encouragement, and most definitely, if you've been kicking butt in your life, like Magida, man, that trust thing, I was just like, yo, like I was celebrating, and she was just like, I mean, it's just what I'm supposed to do. It's not. It's not. It's what you decided to do. And everybody else who's been out there making good decisions for themselves and their families, I want to give you your flowers today. Kudos to you. You deserve it. You earn it. And when you need a little support to get that extra 10%, to get you over the hump, that's why we're here. On God. I'm done for the night. Peace. I love y'all. Looking forward to seeing you on the next mastermind call, which we have every other Sunday before these podcast shows. So you can do the math. But find us on Facebook, find us on YouTube, find us on individually on various platforms, on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. We love to put all of that in the chat. So you'll see it there one day. I don't know when, but someday soon you'll see it in the chat. All right.
For sure.
All right, y'all. Hey,